Great. Well, welcome everybody to our workshop this afternoon. My name is Julie Stapleton Carroll. I'm the program director of the Blackstone Launchpad here at Temple University. I'm joined by our team, Nick Yarnell, who's the director of the IEI Accelerator programs, as well as our special guest, John Mercer, who you'll be hearing from shortly, and our student fellow team with Kathy Wang and Avery Wilson. So welcome to the workshop. We'll be talking tonight about evolving your idea. So last week, if you were with us, we had talked about coming up with your ideas, and now we're taking them to the next level. I'm going to take a few moments, first of all, however, to go over some details of the idea competition. Hopefully all of you will be entering your ideas into them. I know that some of your names are familiar and that we've already met with some of you. So encourage you to take advantage of all the resources that you have available to you to make your idea happen. So what is it? The idea competition is exactly that. It's a competition of ideas. So it's a light lift, I would say. Easy application. We encourage everybody to come up with an idea and submit it. We'll be going through a few of the more details now. Submissions are due October 11th. The portal is currently open. It's running in Startup Tree, which is the platform that both IEI and Blackstone use to support entrepreneurs on campus. You would, if you go to that QR code in the right, Nick, could you remind me which one that is?
Yeah, the QR code up in the right-hand corner will take you directly to the idea competition submission portal on Startup Tree.
Great. So again, submissions are due October 11th at 11:59 p.m. We are here to help you with your idea, and we're going to talk a little bit about what exactly it is. This is the 26th annual Innovative Idea Competition. It is available for any Temple University student, alumnus, staff, or faculty member, so anybody can join. It's a great way to start your entrepreneurial journey. We do this at the beginning of the year for just that reason. And then later on in the year, we have the Be Your Own Boss Bowl, which is a more significant business plan competition. But you have ideas, you run into problems. This is your shot at making them a reality. And again, we're here to help you make that happen. So as I mentioned, anybody from Temple University. Some of the requirements, however, are that you have less than $5,000 in funding already, either through competitions or investment. You have had less than $25,000 in revenue, and you are less than 2 years old. If you're selected as a finalist, and there'll be, I believe, is it 8 or 10 finalists in total? And I'll go into a little bit more detail about the specifics of that. But if you're selected as a finalist, then you're going to be pitching your idea to a live audience in November. And I'll go over these dates here.
And Julie, if we could just add one more thing. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, sure, no problem.
We realize that most of you guys at this stage are just presenting ideas. You might not have actually a legally incorporated company at this point. So those eligibility requirements on the last slide, most of them may not actually apply to you. But if you are concerned that, okay, I have an idea, I maybe have sold a couple of new products that I've just come out with. If you're unsure about where you fall within those guidelines, feel free to reach out to myself or Julie, and we'll be able to help you steer in the right direction.
Great, thank you, Nick. So again, the submission portal is open. It's run in Startup Tree, which is the platform that we use. So you would need to set up a profile in Startup Tree, and there'll be links that you take care of. The QR codes will take you to those sites. Some key dates: September 27th, today. This is our second workshop. This is again on evolving ideas. Last week we had one on coming up with ideas. If you want to look at that recording, you can do so on our YouTube pages. It was a great session with Jung Park, who is always full of ideas. So October 4th, next week, is our third session, and this is about identifying and finding out your competition. The submissions are due on October 11th. They'll be on that day. The Entrepreneurial Student Association will be holding a workshop to review your submissions for you if you want to take a last minute, have them take a last minute look at it and help you. I would encourage you to do that. We will be announcing the finalists on October 19th, and then those finalists will have some time to create their pitch deck, submit their pitch deck, and then there will be a live pitch competition on November 8th. And I would encourage you, regardless of whether you choose to submit or not, or submit and aren't selected as a finalist, take advantage of this event, because watching other people pitch is really helpful to then hone your own pitch as you move forward. So it's divided, the idea competition is divided into tracks. So if you're a graduate student, you're an alumnus, you're a staff or a faculty, you would be in the upper track. Undergraduate students would be placed in the lower track. There are 2 prizes. Well, there's lots of prizes, which I'm going to go into, but there are 2 prizes in the upper track. First place is 1,000, second place is 500, similarly for the lower track as well. Anybody is eligible to win the grand prize. So you could win both multiple prizes. So you could win the grand prize of $1,500. There's the crowd favorite of $500, where the crowd during the live pitch competition will vote for their favorite pitch. The Cyber's Global Innovation Award is $500, and the Digital Innovation Award is $1,000. And again, you can win multiple ones of these awards. There are 2 questions in the application submission that relate to the Cyber Global Innovation Award and the Digital Innovation Award. So if you want to be considered for those awards, make sure you pay attention to that. This is the first year that we're running this competition together. So in prior years, we had 2 different idea competitions happening at the same time, one out of IEI and one out of Blackstone. This year, we were able to combine these competitions. So there's also an opportunity to be considered as finalists for the Blackstone National Competition in each of these 4 areas: social and climate impact, health and life sciences, consumer product and service, or a general category. This is only available to students, so you must be a current undergraduate or graduate student to be considered for these prizes. If you are selected as a finalist in one of these 4 categories, you will be nominated to the national competition, where you could potentially win $10,000. And that would include submitting a slide deck, and we would work with you on creating that, reviewing that, helping you create the best possible one. So that would be submitted, and then the winners of that will be decided at the national level in November. So how are submissions rated? So each area of these are all of the questions that you're going to find when you look at the application. Your elevator pitch is worth 5 points, so they're weighted. Your opportunity and problem, what are you solving? What are you looking to create? Who are your competitors? What is your solution? What's your secret sauce? Who is your customer? And then plans for addressing the unknowns. We realize that this is an idea competition. You're not going to have everything solved. You're not going to have everything figured out. You're probably not going to have a viable product at this point. So we understand that, but understanding what you don't know is also important. We're happy to help with your submission. So I've met with a number of teams already. I will say this: those that have won the competition have taken advantage of all the resources available to them. So I really encourage you to do that. And to that end, you'll see the QR code in the bottom right contains a resource folder of submission tips. So definitely take a picture of that QR code and take a look at the folder. This is another QR code because we love them. This is a submission resource folder, which includes also additional information that you can take, including ones on how to draft a mission statement or an elevator pitch, which is really key. That's the first thing the reviewers are going to read of your application, and they have to be able to understand exactly what you're doing in 2 sentences, which is really hard to do. So again, take advantage of resources, make appointments with us, talk to us, and we can certainly help you out. So here's some additional resources you have. I had mentioned the ESA, the Entrepreneurial Student Association Pitch Help Workshop. That's on the 11th, the day of the submission, from 12 to 1. Nick, I'm assuming that's in the 1810 Accelerator. I will assume.
I was on mute there.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, it's in the 1810 Accelerator, which is directly across the street from the Fox School of Business at Ultra Hall. So that's where we'll be, and hope to see you then.
Great. And then there's eStrategist hours. You can go on to Startup Tree and find mentors. You can search for mentors by what you're looking for. So your keywords, if you're concerned about finances or who your competition is, you can certainly do keyword searches to find the right person to help you out. You also have our emails there at the bottom. Feel free to shoot us an email. You can also reach us through Startup Tree and make appointments that way as well. So what you're waiting for here, I would like to encourage everybody to turn on your video. We want to see you. It's going to be a little bit of interaction. We want to make sure that you're engaged with us and taking advantage of this wonderful resource we have in Jonathan Mercer, who is the president of Startup Bucks, the founder of Stacks Co., which is a co-working space. He's been an adjunct here at Temple University. He's done a ton of things in the entrepreneurial space, which is the perfect person to talk to us about evolving our ideas. So without further ado, welcome, John.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and Nick for inviting me along. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll go around then and quickly, hopefully, get everybody introduce themselves and share a little bit about themselves too, so we can make this a little more interactive. But yeah, Nick and I go back to Stacks, right? The Stacks co-working space. I started in Doylestown, Bucks County, about 45 minutes north of the city here, in 2018. I sold it last year. So in 2022, I sold it. I had it for 4 years. But I'll tell you a little bit about that story. I'll kind of weave it in through the evolving your ideas process. But I've also started a nonprofit with a couple co-founders that were working out of the co-working space out of Stacks in Bucks County. It's called Startup Bucks, and we run some funding programs similar to what we're doing here. You're doing here at Temple to get funding to startups that are in or around Bucks County or could have some economic impact in Bucks County. We do facilitate some investing for the Industrial Development Authority as well. Right now, we have a grant program, actually just closed up the application round that was partnered with Penn Community Bank. Those are $10,000 grants. We do have an expo event if you're anywhere near Bucks in Newtown. I'll show that link out a little bit later. So yeah, I've worked with over 300 startup founders over the past 3 years through Startup Bucks and Stacks. Through a weekly event that we run called Founders 30, through the Bucksfield Startup Fund, we have 20 portfolio companies that have all received $25,000 investments through our programs, and about a dozen grant recipients, and then a lot of other folks that have reached out. I've taught at Temple as an adjunct professor, and in what was a class called New Venture Creation and Entrepreneurial Thinking. So right along the lines of what we're going to be doing here today. I started my career at Johnson & Johnson and in digital marketing, email marketing, procurement, and I was all over the place. I ended up in marketing for medical devices in Australia, in Sydney, Australia. And one of the things I did there, it was somewhat of an innovation role. And I was doing some internal innovation programs. So around the design thinking process, how to use that within a big company, which is easier said than done. So hopefully it'll be a lot easier for you with your ideas. to get some things tested and iterated on and built out. So that's me. Nick, did I miss anything? Nick used to be a member of Stacks going way back, right? Not way back, but what, 2018, 2019? You were there, Nick?
Yeah, about that. Maybe even earlier. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, John's a great guy. Obviously very well versed in the startup ecosystem. Thanks again for joining us. We're glad to have
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Nick. And I do live in Philadelphia. So I'm here in Old City right now. So I'm close by and yeah, do quite a bit of work with entrepreneurs in Philly too. So I think if everybody can come off camera, if you're comfortable and have a camera and you're decent, we'll go around and just do quick introductions, like a minute tops, even shorter, right? Because we got a good crew here. So I'm just going to call on everybody and go in order. And if you could share, if you do have something that you're working on, thinking about working on, just tell us what that is and quickly why, right? Why you're working on it. Not a whole big story. We just know we don't have time. Sorry. Um, and just yeah, 2 yard where you are and what you're working on and why. So that sound good? Okay, Julie, Nick.
Yep.
Yeah. And
All right.
I'll actually offer to start, just to
Yeah. Cool.
give people an idea. It wasn't too long ago that, I myself was a student at Temple entering this idea competition. And my idea is to figure out how to solve congestion and bottlenecks at ski resorts. So basically solving, the issue of crowd management. Why do I want to pursue this? Because I've been a passionate snowboarder over the last 15 years. It's the congestion, especially at lift lines, is a problem that I identified with and have been able to kind of validate on my own through talking to people at ski resorts, some of my friends, some of my family. So I guess I can maybe go into a little bit more detail later on about how that turned out, but I'll popcorn it to somebody else.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. I thought you were talking about like cold and allergy congestion. I was hoping that an issue for me all the time here. Very cool. Should we skip our team, the team up here, or I don't know, Julie, if you want to go, or should we
Yeah,
just?
I'll go quickly. The problem
Okay.
I solved was public education in the city. So I live in the city. I'm very dedicated to public education, but was dissatisfied with our local schools. So I started a charter school that now has 2 campuses, 800 students, a $10 million budget, and is producing really wonderful students.
Amazing.
So Kathy.
Hey, nice to meet you all, folks. I'm Kathy Wan. I've been working with Aya for 2 years. It really helped me starting my entrepreneurship journey. So if you don't know that the average cost of getting your nails done in China is probably $15 to $20. You don't have to tip people either. And I came here 2 years ago and I went to a nail salon. They were like $90 and 18% tips. And I say, this is not going to happen. So I started my own press-on nails company. I've been running for a year now, and every single month we give out free press-on nails for college students on Temple campus for free. And in the past 1 year, I was doing nails for VMA artists. I just feel very blessed that I can start in my own female founder journey with AI.
Very cool. Do you want to choose the next, call them the next person?
I will popcorn it actually to one of our guests, Anthony.
Yes. I don't have nails, so I think I can use your product. It might help me. Class of 2004, old timer. Worked with Julie, I guess, about 3 or 4 years ago, trying to reduce homelessness in my hometown of Inglewood, California. It is a difficult task because nobody wants a homeless shelter in their neighborhood. So I'm going to keep plugging away. I think this will help me deliver a better proposal to National Football League, the NBA, and hopefully to Elon Musk. They all have their businesses on the same street that I'm trying to open this homeless shelter. So it's a big task, but somebody has to try to do this.
And you've set up quite a goal for yourself. Congratulations.
As a minister, that's what we do. I mean, there's 125 churches in the city of Inglewood. There's not one homeless shelter. Our last homeless count of Inglewood was 150 people. So my thinking was if every church just took one person, we actually can solve our own problem. But that's just not how it's going. So I'm going to try to keep pushing these people and hopefully hook up with other churches and nonprofits and see if we can do something.
Very cool. I'll just start calling on people here too. Let's see, Samuel Willette.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. My internet's really bad, so if I start glitching out a little bit, I'm sorry. But my name's Sam. I'm a sophomore at Temple University, and the problem I'm trying to solve is plastic waste in the marijuana industry. I was a marijuana patient myself for in the medical side. I noticed that there's a lot of plastic constantly being wasted, and I mean, when you look up the numbers, it takes up about 10 to 15% of all plastic waste in the United States, just the plastic from marijuana waste alone. And my goal is to try to come up with some reusable system to implement in the PA industry to basically reduce that plastic and cut it to little to none.
Wow. I didn't realize that was such a large percentage. It's amazing. Thanks, Samuel. How or who? Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that.
Yeah, Hoey.
Got it.
Yeah, like hi everyone, I'm Hoey and I'm an international student and studying like innovation management and entrepreneurship in Temple as grad students now. So what we are solving now, my friends are solving now is the problem in my home country. So a lot of Asian students, they grown up in a really stressful way and they like high pressure in their education. So we figure out that they need to like do meditation to let them get comfortable. So we would like to start an online meditation course to help them. Yeah, and it is just like in the organizing the MVP step. So like we're still trying now.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Al. Hoey. I'm gonna go to some of the blank squares here. Emily Hart, or is Emily with us? Is Emily on our...
He's unfortunately not with us today. Sorry.
Oh, all right. Sonia. Going once. Sonia, you're on mute. Okay. Oh, she's outside. All right, Sonia. We will give you a pass. Yarizet? Yarizet, are you inside? You're muted.
Hey guys,
No.
real quick, this entire session is about evolving your ideas. So if you want input, especially before the submission due date for the idea comp, now is the time.
Totally.
So even if you don't feel comfortable turning your camera on, you feel free to utilize the chat function if you want to put your idea there. That's always available as well.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. And we're going to call it, the reason we're going through this is obviously to hear everybody's what they're working on and share that, but also we'll kind of start pulling some things out as we go through some of this methodology too. So let's see, Jamie Yang. Nope. Nick, are you just logging in as like fake people here just to get
Yeah,
the
we
numbers up?
bought them like you can buy followers.
Yeah. All right, we'll go to someone with video again. How about Bobby?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bobby Chaco. I am a Temple alumni from 1998, so it's been some time since I've graduated from the Fox School of Business. Interestingly, we were actually called the SOBs before they were called the Fox School of Business, and I think John probably knows that, so that's great. I work in the pharmaceutical industry for the last 20-some years in integration management for integrating products and so forth. However, I'm also the founder of Samsara Brewing Company. I've been doing that for now last 12 years. This is the first year in which we're now preparing to go national. So it's a pretty big deal for us that we're actually growing into something that is much bigger than I'd ever imagined to happen. The problem I'm trying to solve is when you go to a bar and you see all the tap handles, that's a significant amount of expense for that particular brewery because that's not a cheap cost. It's roughly at about $45 some per tap handle. So that turns into art, bar art, which gets dumped into a box somewhere and forgotten about, so that the next time it's used or the next time the keg is used, another tap handle is either needed or so forth. So it's a significant amount of sunk cost. What I had an idea to do was I've been for my brewery and doing it nationally, printing 3D printed tap handles. So it's much lighter, the cost is much more effective. However, when you do print a 3D tap handle, you can put a hardware into the stem that gives you metrics of use, which is where the data comes from. And that's what I'm most interested in. Because as a brewer, I don't know when Applebee's has tapped my beer. I just got to guess and hope, right? Unless I send my reps in there. But this can give me metrics of use. And with Internet of Things, with the hardware, it gives me an opportunity to have an app, which I've started to develop, so that brewers like myself, wholesalers that are taking my beer from the brewery down to the restaurants, pubs, and taverns can give me when it was tapped, by metrics of when it was finished or it's no longer being used, but also duration. How frequently is it happening? Which, as you can imagine, just doesn't exist in the marketplace because of the cost and the issue of cost. But I have this patent that I'm trying to move forward with. COVID didn't help me, but here I am and I'm ready to move forward. So I'm
Awesome.
ready to kick some butt with this. John,
Awesome.
thank you. Julie, thank you so much.
Thanks, Bobby.
Interesting.
Good stuff. How about Kenneth Chipwell? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, hello. My name is Kenechiko Coley. My idea is basically I'm starting a venture studio. I know that is quite unique. You basically want to have to start a startup before you can obviously want to start a venture studio, right? But the reason why I'm doing that is because just the kind of person I am. Like I'm flooded with ideas, and I'm very hands-on, and I build things all the time. And actually, I came across like tools called like low code and no code. So you can basically build like technology platforms like in a very short period of time. And I'm actually working on one idea right now. It's for food trucks. So this is that you can say that's one of our first studio company. So yeah, I'm basically starting a venture studio leveraging low code and no code tools. So you can say that that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thanks. Thanks, Kenneth Chipwell. Ethan. Ethan, our last video person. Oh, no, we got one more video person. Go, Ethan.
All right. So my idea that I think I'm gonna go with, the problem is mainly people who can't cook, and to prevent people from burning things, because that's a big issue. I mean, I know people who enjoy cooking and people who find it just extremely stressful. There's really two sides to that. So just trying to find a solution for the people who find it not therapeutic.
Okay. I like that one. Thanks, Ethan. Ishmael.
Hey, so my name's Ishmael, Temple alumni. So my idea was focused around light poverty. So that's the access to artificial light. So it's still, I think, estimated that still millions of people still don't have access to artificial light. So that means at night they use kerosene lamps, gas generators, or another source of lighting. So the goal was to, or the idea is to produce a wireless light. But the difference is from the normal wireless lights is that it be recharged using solar energy and also have a removable battery, with the goal being to get U.S. migrants who have family members abroad, get them to pay for the light and ship it back to their family members abroad. Because generally, if you live in an area without light, you may not have the funds to produce it, but your family member who came to the U.S. would ideally be able to pay for it and be able to ship it back to you. So that's my idea.
Very cool. Thanks, Ishmael.
Interesting.
All right, we'll try the video list. The two more. Semyon? Semyon? Hey, we
Yeah,
got
you
one.
got me. Okay, so I represent a group, and I don't have their blessing to share the idea. I can just say we are trying to educate people about recycling with some technology.
Very vague. Okay. Yeah, mysterious. All right, thank you, Semyon. And then, last but not least, hopefully, Francesca.
Hi. Just kind of not in a position to turn the camera on right now. Sorry.
Okay.
So I've spent the last 12 years working in plastics and all sorts of varying facets of plastics manufacturing, specifically extrusion. And one thing that I noticed is there's just not enough work being done on biosourced plastics for single-use applications. All of the single-use applications I've been seeing were mostly focused on just the plastics that already exist and recycling them rather than having them kind of part of the carbon cycle. So that is something I wanted to work on, mostly focus on the flexible packaging.
Awesome. Okay. Is that everybody? Did I miss anybody or anybody that was on our off video now is available? Okay, or Avery. Did we get Avery? Did we get you, Avery?
No.
There we go.
Hi, my name is Avery. I don't actually really have an idea. Though if I had to have one, I think I personally would probably like to make some kind of studio. I don't know if it has like a noble cause, like anything from other people here, but I do really just like creation. And I really want to just create a space for creators at some point in my life. And I think that's the main reason why I became a business major. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. I think that is everyone. And I'm going to do a screen share. So I have some material to go through, but we're going to make this very interactive. And I took notes on all of your ideas, and I'm going to steal all of them. No, I won't do that. Not easy to steal ideas, that's for sure. I'm always of the mind that the quicker you can get something out there, right? And get feedback and get input and test it, the better, because ideas are a dime a dozen, right? It's the execution that matters, and validating that the idea, the thing that you think, the solution that you have, is actually something people want, right? People need, or if it's not people, companies, whatever it might be, right? So what you don't want to be, if you've heard this phrase, is a solution looking for a problem. All right, so that's kind of what design thinking gets into, which I'm most familiar with. That there's a whole bunch of different methodologies. Julie or Nick offhand, if there's any others that you guys go over or teach. But I will focus on design thinking right now. So let's do screen share. And everyone, yeah, like Nick said, use the chat, pause it, or if you have questions, just come off mute at any point. Don't add anything, but I'll be calling people out too. There's the right screen. Do you see my window?
Yes.
Okay. So I got there's a few different visualizations of what design thinking is. Just background, it came from the developed originally in the D school out of Stanford. So the design school in Stanford, and design school doesn't really sound like it would apply to business necessarily, but this really is very much applied to business applications. So this, you'll see, it looks kind of linear, right? You see it just kind of going in this direction, but that's very much not the case. As you may know, if you've started something, built something before, the whole process is messy in a good way. And I like that. I like that messiness, that ambiguity, and the chaos, right? Kind of being comfortable in that chaos. But the steps here, I'm going to kind of weave my story with the co-working space throughout each of these. But first things first, you got empathize, which is understanding people, understanding what that need is, what they're feeling, then defining and figuring out exactly what the problem is. And we'll go into a little more detail on these later. Then ideate, so generating the ideas. You see that the ideate didn't come first. I think that's pretty important, right? Probably for all you guys too, right? The idea didn't necessarily come first. It was something that you experienced yourselves or saw that somebody else was experienced. But I think a lot of times people jump from, oh, I see something that's a problem. I got an idea and I got the solution already. They forget about this defining, kind of going back and empathizing again, which is getting more feedback from those, maybe the people, the potential customers that you, the population that you saw had that challenge or need originally. So I actually like this chart because it shows that you're going back and forth all throughout the process here. So let me I think really the best way is to go through an example. So I'm going to tell you about my journey with the co-working space, the Stacks Co. So I had left J&J, Johnson & Johnson, in 2016, and I was still in Australia. And I had an idea for something I wanted to work on, which was a workplace mental health initiative, finding senior business leaders to share their stories of lived mental health experience. I had my own lived mental health experience, depression, anxiety in the corporate environment, and how it was hard to come out and share. And I talked to a lot of different people that had that. So this is kind of just Cliff's notes on that. But I was working on this on my own out of my apartment in Sydney. And then I eventually had to come back to the States here and was still working on it alone. Didn't want to work on it alone anymore. So I thought, well, there must be some other entrepreneurs. Well, actually, first thought was, is there a co-working space in Doylestown, which is where I was living at the time? And there was no co-working space. So my first thought was, maybe I'll start a co-working space. But I didn't know if anybody else wanted a co-working space in Doylestown. So I backpedaled a little bit and I said, you know what? How about I've empathized with this idea, right? Or with this this need that for myself, at least, how do I know, other than the people that I maybe co-worked with in coffee shops in Sydney, that it's actually a need for people there in Doylestown at the time. So what I did, I defined a problem. I feel like I had kind of gone through that enough. The problem was that I was working alone. Didn't have I wasn't getting the energy, the right vibe, able to get in the flow without other people around me, right? So my idea on how I could prototype this was, what if I just get groups of people together that maybe you're in the same place? So I reached out to bars and restaurants and said, hey, do you have any empty space during the day, say Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, where I can just put a meetup group out there? Whoever shows up to co-work, right, shows up, and no obligation to order coffee to order anything, but I'll run a tab for coffee and tea. These bars and restaurants right away said, absolutely, we would love to have some bodies in here. So I started with that. So it was really a low cost, no cost, basically, other than coffee and tea, a way to test it out, kind of test that market out to see if other people had that, were experiencing that same challenge in that particular market. So week one, there were about 10 people that came out, and pretty much all of them had the same challenges that I had. This is pre-pandemic, right, when people weren't really working from home as much. And they said, yeah, I just need to socialize with some people that are doing similar things to me, so I can maybe bounce some ideas, or just kind of go for a walk with them, or just have a chat, a little sidebar chat, a little water cooler discussion. And so those 10 people, a few of them of those 10 said, oh, we've always wanted a co-working space in Doylestown. So I think 3 or 4 of them were telling me that. 2 of them had actually started kind of working on a plan for a co-working space. They had a name, they had a website, right? But they hadn't actually tested the idea or even prototyped like I was doing. And then the next week, I read another event at a different bar restaurant in Doylestown, and 20 people came out. Then the next week, 30 people came out. So that was already kind of getting the momentum, validating for me that, wow, this is something people really want. So that was when I said, you know what, maybe there is a market here for a co-working space. And I, in parallel, was looking for a space, right? You need a space for a co-working space. And talking to potential future members that had come out to these events, these meetups, if they would join a co-working space. So even before I had a space, I had 12 people that had quote unquote signed up to be members, and had given me money, right? And I said, you know what, if nothing comes about here, I'll give you your money back. Eventually found a space and started the co-working space within 3 months of that first meetup. So it's pretty quick. I'll pause there. I don't know, Julie, if you maybe have a question. I thought you looked like you might have a question there, or anybody has a question about that process.
No, it's an interesting way to prototype it. It was very clever.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, so that's exactly the prototype. I know I didn't go step by step here because it really isn't a step-by-step process. So as you heard kind of along the way, I was thinking, well, how do I just get a physical space? Do I need to get a physical space to get people in here? Is it even something people want? So it's kind of going back and forth through this whole loop and jumping between the idea and testing it, prototyping it. The other thing I did, even once we had the space, before I decided what the fit out would look like and how many desks and where the desks would be, how many offices we had, I told those 12 people that had signed on as members before we even opened, come on in, right? We've got the space, the lease has started, we're starting our fit out, but you come in, start working from here. You don't have to work from home. You don't have to work from those bars and restaurants anymore. We get a few surfaces that you can work from, right? We'll get the Wi-Fi going, and let's just see how you use the space, right? What works, and just kind of kept getting that feedback and iterating with them. So back to the empathizing, right? And continued defining exactly what the problem was, what they needed, generated ideas on what that fit out might look like, what kind of desks we would need, what kind of spacing we would need, right? If we would need permanent desks, if we would need like 3-day-a-week desks, things like that, flex desks. And then even then, rather than buying every desk to fill the space, I was just buying desks as people came, right? Based on what they were telling me. And this doesn't have to happen like this, right? I could have, really kind of defined it more up front and then said, wait, we'll do a full fit out, then we'll open our doors. But I didn't have any expertise in this space. So I figured, no, this is the best way to go about it. Continue to iterate, continue to evolve, continue to adapt, and never got hung up on what I thought was maybe the perfect layout, right? Or the perfect music to play there, or the perfect artwork there. So speaking of artwork, what ultimately ended up being the artwork was all from the community, from the artists in the community too. So really kind of just built with and through the community and the members that wanted to be part of that space. And that helped really create, for this particular product, right, which was the space that people were using, they felt the sense of ownership toward it. So it really created customers that were members, right, and really a part of that community. So it wasn't just a transactional thing. So that kept people around longer. The churn rate was very low. Churn rate meaning people weren't quitting, weren't leaving, right, weren't canceling their memberships. And then really throughout this whole thing, I kind of lived and breathed this design thinking process, even until I closed, or not closed, but sold the space last year. And in part because it continued to evolve. People wanted to have events out of the space. People wanted to run different workshops. People came in with different needs. Now, at some point in hindsight, it probably could have more of a stronger definition on what was going to be, what were the products were going to be. I did have membership levels, but I maybe was a little too open on continuing to iterate. That's kind of tough to keep iterating. But ultimately, it was a good thing that I didn't really, quote unquote, nail anything or screw anything down into the floor or bolt anything down, because the pandemic came along about 1.5 years in. And that really changed what the model could be, what the spacing could be, how many people could be in there, what people wanted. Whereas people before wanted that open space, open plan, layout, they didn't want that anymore, right? With COVID and the pandemic. So fortunately, we had desks that were easily movable, modular. So we're continuing to flex with that all throughout. So it really worked out well. There's different industries I know where you can't necessarily keep iterating and evolving like that, right? Say if it's pharma, medical devices, right? There's certain stages you have to go through and approvals and that. So totally understand it might not be applicable to everything, but that on those early phases, I think you could always and always should use a process like this. And I know, again, I didn't go through step by step because it's not step by step. So I'll pause there. If there's any questions on the just kind of high level, what each of these, I want to call it steps, but kind of each of these phases entails and encompasses.
So Nick had a question in the chat about what was the most challenging thing for you when deciding to pursue this idea. And I would love to know how you financed it.
Yeah, good question. Sorry, I missed the chat. I didn't see it. But Nick, what was it? The biggest challenge in getting it started? I think it was, probably a little bit of the imposter syndrome. I was like, who was I? Who am I to start this thing? I'm not even from Doylestown originally. Nobody knows me. I don't have any experience in this space, in the office, in the workspace, shared workspace or office space, commercial real estate industry. So that was intimidating. But really, I think because I know because I went through this process and constantly was getting that validation from people that it's something they wanted, and was going back to them to tell me, hey, it's something you want. What do you need? Right? What would work best for you? I wasn't the one that needed to have the expertise, right? They were the experts because they were the customers and they tell me what they needed. And in terms of financing, Julie, it was in part with money that I had, personal money. There wasn't an early investor that was a partner early on. And then customers, right? So they having 12 members that were paying on day one. And we had it was break even already, right? Without paying myself anything. We had rent and utilities and everything paid for before we even opened. So if you can do that, that's a great way. It was bootstrapped, right? I didn't have to raise any outside capital. Fortunately, I had some savings from when I was working at Johnson & Johnson before. So I was able to fill in some of the gaps there. But then along the way, never took any other investments or loans because we had customers. Another thing in hindsight, I probably should have maybe or taken investment earlier. There were a lot of things that were kind of challenges along the way that could have used a little more financing. One thing that you maybe wouldn't think of and I didn't think of was acoustics, right? So just acoustics in the space, especially in open space with the reverb and echo and the loud people, right? It's not cheap either for an acoustic fit out. So probably would have spent a little bit on that. But yeah, so short answer, it was bootstrapped and customer financed.
Following up on that, you had mentioned that you had an investor, and the question in the chat is, how did you get that early investor?
Through the meetups, through that early empathy stage, defining stage, right when I was going through that. She reached out to me, and she had a small, it was a design agency or design kind of collaborative, marketing collaborative, right? Where there were 5 of them co-working essentially out of an office that they shared. And she had always had the dream to have a co-working space in Doylestown where she could bring more people in. So she came to me and said, I want this to happen. I want to put some money in. So she made the proposal. So I didn't even have to seek her out. So that was even more validation early on that without even soliciting an investor, she came on board, and she was one of those first members as well.
Nice. And I think what you keep referring to is customer discovery and validation of your idea. That's what everybody on this Zoom should be doing with your idea, is talking to other people about it and seeing what they think. You're going to get a lot of questions. You're going to get some things that you hadn't thought about yet. You're going to evolve your idea through conversations with people and talking about it. You're going to get your elevator pitch is going to become honed, and you'll be much better at sort of describing your problem. So encourage everybody to do that customer validation, customer discovery.
Yes. Excellent. Thanks, Julie. Yep. And kind of as I was describing the process I went through to ultimately start the co-working space and even continue to iterate on what that looked like inside, I never got hung up on this co-working space needs to exist. This needs to happen, right? It was, hey, if people want it, I'll do my best to make it happen, right? And
we
we
have one more question in the chat. Can I?
Oh yeah, so I can't see the chat. I should pull that up there. I'm sorry.
What was the process for? I'm embarrassed to say I don't know this acronym. POC or pilot.
Proof
Yeah,
of
proof
Oh,
of
proof of
concept.
concept. I
Sorry,
do
I'm
know
so sorry.
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
been
no
using-
problem. I should know that.
No, sorry, it's my fault.
Oh, good. I didn't. Yeah, Julie, you're helping me with the some of the right lingo too. Fill in the blanks for me. So, the proof of concept, I would say, really, and the pilot were those meetups, right? So running those meetups at the bars and restaurants, getting people to come out, talking to people there. I didn't ask them to pay anything at that point, right? But then once we had the space and found the space, I guess that was in a way the pilot, right, to a sense. And then because I continued to build out as more people joined, so that physical space probably was the initial pilot. Probably took a little too much space, more space than I needed at the top there, right off the bat. But we eventually grew into it, so I probably could have had gotten to more higher margins and better profitability sooner. And then yeah, so that was the proof of concept. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much, John.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, the other thing too, I wouldn't have started the space and the physical space if I didn't find the right space, right? And one thing people wanted was for it to be in the borough, downtown, in Doylestown. So it could be walkable to restaurants, bars, right? So it's not just in a business park or a strip mall, right? Where it's like, okay, I drive there, I get there, and then could have just worked from home, right? At least I'm around people, but there's really nothing here to kind of walk out and do. One thing I didn't consider was parking. That was an issue too. So that's something I probably could have empathized with a little bit more early on. That would have helped to define. But we did our best along the way there to have, we had a parking lot, but it was small, and then help people with permit parking as well. So that's something that we tried to solve along the way. Ken, did you start charging from the beginning? Yes. Yeah, even before we opened, right? And this in particular, right, there was quite a bit of overhead right off the bat because I had a lease I had to pay for, internet, utilities, everything fit out. So it wasn't something I wanted to do give away up front. Maybe with software, things like that. If you've got an MVP, minimum viable product, it's not costing you much up front, something you can give away. What I did do though, was once we were opened, I gave everyone a free week. First we started with a free week, but that was actually realized that was a little bit too much for people, actually, ironically. So like, oh, I don't know if I even like this place. I don't know if I want to commit to a week. So then we did a free day. Your first day is free, right? So come in, sign up for a test drive, we called it. And so that was the only thing we gave away from free. We did promotions every now and then, maybe for a free month if you signed up under a contract. But yeah, no, we started charging from day one.
And John, if I could just add one quick thing, it kind of goes back to what you mentioned about staying away from falling in love with the solution and really steering your focus towards the opportunity or problem. The reason John was able to get customers that early on without having a space is because he really pinpointed right on those individuals' pain points, the problem that they've been dealing with, where there was a clear opportunity in Doylestown for a space like this. All he had to do was show them the way.
Yes. And one thing I always said too, and I do reiterate, and I know the co-working space is, right, it's kind of a boring example, right? I mean, it's fun once you get there, but in terms of business, it's it's pretty straightforward, but it's tangible, right? And I think it really can apply to a lot of different types of industries and products and services. But I always, people think, and I think Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams did us a disservice with this one, but people think if you build it, they will come. And I say, if they come, then you build it, right? So the people came to these events, to these meetups, they were showing up. So that's when I decided, okay, this is something that I can build, right? So don't put the cart before the horse there. And something else I continued to do with this iteration, with these meetups that we started with, I kept running these events and these meetups even once we were open, right? So it seems kind of counterintuitive, right? Well, we've got a co-working space. Why don't you invite them to your co-working space? Don't you want them there? Why are you going to still go to bars and restaurants? One was to kind of spread the footprint beyond Doylestown, right, and get more exposure outside because not everybody was living in Doylestown. And also because if you hear there's a meetup or an open kind of co-working day, open house at a co-working space, what do you think people are going? You're going to try to get? I'm going to try to sell you a co-working membership, right? But what I really still cared about, and all throughout my mission, was to help people connect with other people that are working from home and are maybe lonely or just want to be around other people. So I thought, that's a good kind of entree, kind of step before joining the co-working space. Where we continue running these meetups for free and similar kind of format concept, and people would come out. Then I would say, hey, there's a co-working space, and I always say it's sponsored by Stacks Co. I wouldn't be subversive at all. And then pretty much every meetup, at least 5 people would come out for a test drive, maybe a couple of days later, of the actual co-working space and sign up. That was a great conversion rate. It wasn't super scalable, but it was local, right? So it was local enough and small enough kind of space and business that we didn't need to really do. I didn't spend any money on marketing other than a $20, any money on digital marketing beyond the time that it took to have people go out to these events. But I spent a $20 on an Instagram ad at one point, which brought in one person. So, and then the other thing I continued to do was empathize with people that would come in for these test drives for the free days or a tour. Right when they came in, first thing I would say, I wouldn't launch into a tour of the space and say, okay, here's our great offices, here's our great chairs, and our Wi-Fi is amazing. First thing I did, I said to them, what do you do? What do you do? Right? Open-ended. They'd start telling me, oh, I work for this company, I'm a project manager, I work from home. And more often than not, right from that question, they would start telling me what their problem was, what their challenge was working from home, right? The kids are home, or the dog, right? Or they just get distracted by chores, or they needed an office or something, right? So from there, I could start kind of thinking, oh, you know what? This person's going to be more interested in an office than an open space desk, or maybe they just want to come in one day a week or so because their kids are home on Fridays or something, right? Whatever it might be.
I think that's a perfect example of what we recommend people to do when they're doing customer discovery is ask open-ended questions, not, hey, this is my product, do you like it? Like you mentioned, showing the offices and the chairs. It's tell me how you solve this problem now. So to tell me about your work life, tell me about how if you're inventing a new flashlight, what made you decide to buy the flashlight that you just bought? And you'll get a lot of information that way, and you can really probe into how people make decisions and what they value.
Exactly, right. And how would you use this, right? How would even and this is with design thinking too, if it's a tangible kind of physical product or if it's software, you actually have the people use it, right? And you watch them. You watch how you use it. You don't assume how they're going to use it, right? And you see them, they might use it in a completely different way than you thought. And that's when you go back to that definition, that ideation. How do we better address what they really need and the way they're really using it? And then iterate on the prototype from there. Anything else on that? I talked a lot about Stacks and my experience, but let's pick some. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, John. I wanted to ask you though, like, how did you market the first meetup? Like, how did you get people to show up? What did you do?
Good question. A few ways. First thing was Facebook was actually probably more. Well, I guess a lot of people still use it. I don't use it much, but Doylestown in particular, that area had a lot of people on Facebook. There were good Facebook groups for Doylestown. There was like 16,000 people on those. And then also there was a dormant Doylestown co-working group, Facebook group that there hadn't been any activity on there, but I could see who was in the group. So I thought, oh, those people are probably interested in co-working. So I reached out to them. I direct messaged them. I tried to get in touch. I got in touch with probably 3 or 4 of them. I think there were probably a few dozen that were in there, and talked to them. Did my interviews, right? So you see with this empathize phase interviews or something you could do. Then from there, they referred me on to other people, right? They say, oh, you got to talk to Shannon, who was that early investor, right? Oh, you got to talk to Seth and Sean, who had been thinking of this co-working idea. So that was the first way before I even started a meetup. And then once I had that kind of core critical mass of people, that's when I put out this a Facebook event on Facebook, shared it there. I did do a meetup as well. I don't know if I did an Eventbrite at that stage. LinkedIn, I don't think LinkedIn had events at that point, all the way back in 2018. But yeah, a few platforms. And yeah, the first one, 10 people came out. And I felt like, you know what do I have to lose? If nobody shows up, I'll just sit, work here, have some coffee, maybe a beer, drown my sorrows. But yeah, 10 people showed up. If 2 people showed up, that would have been fine too. And then they kept coming because those 10 told more people. So yeah, short answer, sorry, was Facebook and Meetup, but also direct outreach to anybody I thought that might be interested. So good question, especially for your venture studio.
And we have another question in the chat. How would you ask Elon Musk to invest in your business? I asked him on his Twitter account. Maybe you should have called it your ex account, his ex account. But he never responded, but Jeff Bezos did. Well done.
Oh, good. Very cool. I don't know if I would ask Elon Musk. I like him. I don't think anything against him. I don't think I would, for the co-working space in particular, I don't think I would need him to invest. But if I wanted him to invest, do you mean how would I reach him, or what? How would I position that ask?
I think he's talking in regard to his business.
Basically, okay, I mean, this is a billionaire, and he's like right down the street from where we're trying to do this work. I figured, look, I would not be able to get into SpaceX to see him. It's right down the street. I would not be able to get into, what's his car place called again?
Tesla.
Yeah, they would not let me in to see him. So I figured I'll go ahead and hit him straight up on his Twitter account when it was Twitter. And what it was, he made a joke. It was before he bought Twitter. He goes, nobody's working at the headquarters in Twitter in San Francisco because of COVID. Do you think I should shut that office down and turn it into a homeless shelter? So he was being funny. So I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity. So I go, well, sure, but we're trying to open a homeless shelter right down the street from your corporation. Would you be willing to help fund this? He never responded. And I think it was like a 24-hour type of deal where he has to take it off. Within that time frame, I kept going back, and then Jeff Bezos responded with a link. That's all he put was a link. So I opened the link. Come to find out, Jeff Bezos opened a homeless shelter on the campus of Amazon in Seattle. So I'm trying to get this man interested into helping us out. How would you approach him? I mean, Twitter, to me, I think is probably the best way to reach him. So we know how to get him, but how would you approach him? What would you ask him? Hey, this is a great idea, Elon.
That's a good question. I've never really thought about how to get in touch with him. I mean, probably try to find people that are connected to someone that's connected to someone connected to him, right? A few degrees out, start working that way. That might be a good way. But you could do that in parallel to something kind of a bolder approach like you did, right? With getting on Twitter. I mean, maybe like going to those places, maybe bringing people that are homeless, unhoused. When he said that we'll convert this to a homeless shelter, bring a group, right? Say, hey, we're here, right? You might get some media attention. Media is probably the best way to get to them, right? If you can get some cameras on you. So yeah, go through the press, right? And something bold. So you got to really don't do anything illegal or outlandish, right? But something that's gonna really be out there, right? And then shake things up, and people are gonna be like, oh, that's weird, or that's different. So something bold, like something like, I mean, Richard Branson, right, used to do all those publicity stunts. So something like that. So, and then get him kind of where he is, right, close to home, like you were doing. So that was my thought. And then iterate on that, and prototype and test, and then empathize.
So there's 5 billionaires in our city, and I'm trying. So I had to use statistics to show that it is in their best interest that we do have a homeless shelter because it does reduce crime. So it's okay for the entertainment part. That makes sense for them. But for Elon Musk, how can it be an incentive for him to invest? How can he profit off of it is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. Well, I want to, why Elon? Maybe we're getting hung up on the wrong thing, right? You want to, I think what you said was open a homeless shelter, right?
Right. So it's a Prairie Boulevard. It's 1 mile from SoFi Stadium where the Rams and the Chargers play. The Los Angeles Clippers are building their new stadium on that same street, which is less than a mile from the homeless shelter site where I'm trying to get.
Okay.
And then, of course, we have the Forum, and then so it's like this large entertainment complex.
Yeah.
It makes sense for them to join because it keeps homeless people away. The millionaires that's in Hollywood don't want to come around if you have a lot of homeless people. Crime goes down if you house homeless people and you give them, jobs. But for Elon Musk, I'm trying to figure out a way to incentivize this man because if he can save money or make money, I think he would do it.
Right.
I can't see him doing it just out of the kindness of his heart.
Yeah, so this is a good one, I think, to workshop a little bit and get some input from the group too. So I think maybe we're getting hung up on not the idea or this the idea for. I think there's definitely a need right here, and you validated that. But the idea of Elon Musk as the solution to that funding might not be the right direction, right?
Why not?
Most of those 5 billionaires have foundations, like their corporations have foundations. Probably a good place to start, and maybe not go to Elon Musk, but the director of that foundation. There's
we have, and you're right. Each one, the Rams have a foundation. They already given to the city of Inglewood, the high schools and all that. So they are involved. They are involved in our city. The only one who's not is Elon Musk, but he has the most money. So
but you don't need $1 billion for a homeless shelter, right?
No.
So maybe if we go back to let's go back to the empathize. And we don't really have to define which step it is, but is there anyone out there that's successful or that has potential funding that could help fund this, that maybe has experienced homelessness themselves, right, at some point, or knows someone, right? So those would be the people, when you talk about empathize, that would really feel the problem the most, feel what the challenge is, understand it. Maybe Elon just doesn't, I don't want to say he doesn't care, but he doesn't know, he doesn't appreciate what the challenge is, right? So do you think that maybe, and if anybody has ideas, Ishmael, I saw you came off mute on different approaches, right, for the funding, for the financing this.
Yeah, when you mentioned other people that, like, I guess multimillionaires and billionaires that empathize with like homelessness, I thought of like Tyler Perry, because he had lived out of his car when he was trying to get his play out. He actually was out of his car. He was doing his play to raise money. So he would, I guess, if you're looking at someone who has a lot of money who would empathize with homelessness, that would be like somebody who would probably be like, oh yeah, I had to work out of my car. I had to live out of it while trying to get my plays off the ground, and the studios weren't giving me money. And so he would be, versus Elon, who probably may not empathize with that.
Right. Yeah. So I think that I'll pause there if anybody else has any thoughts or feelings on kind of going about the approach. I don't think the problem, I think maybe the problem you've defined here, I mean, that it's separate from the homelessness, right? The problem of not being able to get to Elon is maybe the wrong problem, right? The wrong focus. You need to get funding to do this, right? You validated it. So there's a lot of different ways to go about getting funding that are not through Elon Musk. So you can spend your whole life trying to get Elon Musk, and maybe one day he does finance it, but if it takes decades, those are decades that you could have had a homeless shelter for people. Right?
No, and I agree with that. And like I said, the coolest part to me, how I took it was that Mr. Bezos pretty much interjected when he was never on this feed, but apparently he's following what Elon is saying. So he interjected by showing, and he has a beautiful shelter. I mean, he spent
Yeah.
great. Oh, it's huge, beautiful,
Right.
over 200 rooms on the
Wow.
campus. So to me, that was pretty cool what he did.
Mhm.
I'm trying to do it in a private way. We can always go through HUD, but going through HUD, there's a lot of restrictions. And
Right.
that's why I think we have so many people fall through the gaps, because you
Right.
have to have this regulation. You have to follow this regulation. Well, Los Angeles has the greatest homeless shelter besides Seattle. Those are the two largest communities of homelessness. One gentleman took it upon himself to help out. Again, I understand, the owners of the NFL and the NFL Network, and they always do good work in their community where
Hey,
they.
Anthony, I'm just going to pause there so we can get around to some of the other ideas and call on some other folks. But I think you got the right idea. I'm trying to find people that would help finance and fund, but just caution on what a few people have said, kind of putting all your eggs in one basket, right? And being tied to one way of doing something. And we can come back if we have time. But just want to, anybody else? Let's see. We'll start talking through kind of how you've gone through some of these steps already with the design thinking process methodology. Any volunteers want to go, or I can pick someone. All right. How about let's see. I'm gonna go with Ethan. Ethan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So cooking, burning things. How did you?
Yeah.
I have a guess, but how did you first kind of empathize, feel this experience?
Well, my mother and her sister are very, very different people. My aunt, she's a very good cook. She can cook whatever. She finds it therapeutic, like I was talking about earlier. And my mom is the complete opposite, unfortunately. So I grew up with her cooking, and I just was trying to find a solution to make it something more just easier for her to do.
Okay. So did you quote unquote interview her, get her input, get their input?
No, not yet. No, this
Okay.
is very very not much.
Okay. No, good. No, that's fine. And you don't have the solution yet, right? So that's, I think,
Like a prototype, you mean? Like an idea of that?
yeah. How far are you with this?
I have a good picture of an idea, I would
Okay.
say.
All right. So what would be your next step? Something maybe along this path here.
Probably to go talk to people and get an idea of my market.
Got it. And what do you think, or any thoughts from anybody on how Ethan should go about that? Should he, I think Julie, you may have said this, should he go in and say, hey, what do you think of my idea? What do you think of this product? Or should he do something else? What do you guys think? What should any ideas on an approach here?
Ask people if they burn food.
Yeah, right. They burn food. Why? What happens when you burn food? What kind of food do you burn? What are you using? Right? What pans do you use? You cook with
Wanna add,
gas or electric. Go ahead, Kathy. Sorry.
I didn't do the conversation. Somebody burned my entire arm when I was cooking one time. I was in ER. I feel like one important thing, especially in marketing, is literally showing the empathy on kind of like what will happen after you burn food. You might also even burn yourself. Kind of this will be very good marketing of like true storytelling to your customer segments. Yeah, definitely like emphasize on the customer empathy part. Yeah.
Definitely. Cool. Ethan, any other thoughts? And we'll just kind of bounce around to some of the other things people are working on here.
No, that's about it. You can bounce around. Thank you.
Okay. Semyon, we're not going to go to you because You only told us you're working on something about something, so we don't know what
Yep,
you're
yep.
doing.
I'm good.
Good. We'll skip you. How about let's see, Kathy, can we use you?
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
With the nails. Where did that start? I think you
So
said
I
it was the
started.
price, right?
Yeah, I started with the price, and I realized there is actually a huge racism problem among nail salons in Philadelphia, especially Chinatown area. Majority of the nail salons that I want are Chinese Asian style or AKA Japanese style. Majority of the salon, my best friend, she's Haitian. I brought her together as a plus one to the appointment. And the salon lady was like, "Oh my God, why do you bring a black girl here in Chinese?" Like whispering to me. And then I realized how racial inequality it is in Chinatown area on accepting customers. So I decided to start a nail brand called Sugar Daddy Nails. It's open to everyone, any gender, any racial group, ethnicities. So everyone at the end of the day can get their nails done. I do believe that going through this process, I'm going a lot of question right now, especially on out kind of like I'm kind of currently looking for our source this two other individual artists who like currently dusting the coins to like kind of like being creative with me because like making them took a lot of energy and time. That's why I currently only do customization right now. But I do feel like in the long term, I do want to connect with suppliers in China to make this business model more sustainable.
Got it. So you have customers, you have people buying the products, right? Buying the
Yeah,
nails.
yeah.
Got it. And what kind of feedback are you learning anything along the way now from them, from those customers on anything
I
different than what you thought originally thought they'd
I
want?
do. It's very hard for me to retain customers because I feel like a lot of people do this, especially with my price point. I market myself as a premium nail artist. Since the art press nails, a lot of customers prefer getting their nails done. I know there's a lot of gentlemen in this chat right now. Let me like walk you all through. Getting your nails done for like girly pops could be a whole journey. You call your girlfriend and tell them like you want to get your nails done, and y'all like got an Uber together or somebody pick you up and go to the nail salon. Now they just sit you down, y'all gossip for like 1 or 2 hours and get your nails fresh, and then you go out for a eat later. So this could be a whole journey. So if you think about it, Preston's nail does bring you the convenience part of it, but it also kind of discount the whole friendship experience part of it. So what I'm thinking right now, I'm doing customer packages and subscription model. So even if you have a plus one to the model using a discount, I will give you a discount.
Yes.
I'm trying to incorporate the whole aspect of bringing over a friend as a part of increasing a segment to my business model too. But one of the questions I do have is actually just for the like I don't have the economies of scale right now because I'm the only employee. I'm the employer and employee. It takes me a very, very long time to make those nails. So that was a like problem that I'm currently facing right now. And when I was facing this problem, I literally just realized the reason why there is such a price difference between America and China because of the cost of labor in here and there. So that's what I'm trying to coordinate now. How do I work smarter to solve that problem?
Awesome. Well, that's a good problem to have. Very good.
And we
Thanks,
have
Kathy.
to wrap in about 3 minutes. There's a couple slides that we want to show at the very end. So just a
Okay.
point of timing.
Yeah, I think I'll keep going around and just talking through kind of how people are working through their evolving their ideas. Hao Yi, how did you first did you
Yep.
experience this yourself? You talked about the pressure, high pressure on students.
Yeah, because me and my friends like were all Asians, and my friends who's studying in China about like the traditional Chinese medical. So he's really into this part, and he's like very professional in meditation. But for me, my personal experience is that I'm really like I have a really bad experience in the sleeping disorder now. So although I snore a lot and although I snore loud from the feedback by my roommates, but my sleeping quality isn't good. So due to this, what we will do and figure out is like I will like take the responsibility of the marketing place, and my friend will take the responsibility of the professional place he will plan the class schedule and how the class will run. But for me, my responsibility is to make this course more entertaining because it is too professional. We tried it before, and what we get and our feedback is this is really good and it is really useful, but it is too serious. So what we would do next step is we will make it more entertaining. Yeah, so we're still trying that.
And is the course, is it videos? Is it text? What is it?
Yeah, it is just online course. Like we'll do a Zoom call or like an online
There you
app.
go. Yeah.
So it will be like 1-to-1 or like 1-to-2. We'll have a schedule there.
That's awesome. So good, light touch, low cost, low fi way to do it. You're validating it as you go along, right? It sounds like you're getting feedback, right? That it's too formal, right? Too professional, want to be a little bit lighter. So then you could, rather than having put together all these highly produced videos, which some people might do up front, and that end up realizing nobody actually wanted that. Sounds like you're going through this exact process, right? You maybe even realize it, but doing it the right way.
Yeah, because we're testing, we tested our MVP once before, but it is just in our surrounding, or like our friends' friends, everybody's friends. But we wanted to jump out of our like comfort zone. So we are like reorganizing our MVP now, and we would like to just spread it around. So we are doing a second survey now to go over it to like people we can't reach in our like daily life. So we will get more feedback. Like it won't be like just focus on our like our life, our like social circle like this. It'll be out there and we'll get different feedback so we can improve our
No, that's
like
so good.
30-second MVP.
I love it. I think that's a great place to wrap up, because you really just gave us a whole the whole process, the whole methodology. You're doing it. You're living it.
The pivot and the yeah, it all.
Yeah, we could have just had, it could have been 2 minutes with Hao Yi, and then that would have been it.
Thank you.
Well, if I could share my screen, John, thank you so much. This conversation was really, really lively. I think very helpful. Lots of great examples. Am I sharing my screen?
Yeah, thank you for iterating and pivoting along with me.
Thank you so much, John.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll pop a few links in the chat on the design thinking if anybody wants to look at it, but I think it's mostly about just kind of the mindset more than the steps.
That's right. Yeah, and hopefully you've taken something away from this that you're going to get out and talk about your ideas to people. Again, you're going to get some better ideas. You're going to iterate. You're going to pivot, perhaps. So start your submission today. There's a QR code that will take you to the competition. We are here for you. Nick, do you want to say a few words about the 1810 accelerator space and how people can take advantage of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So in a similar fashion to how we're running things with the idea competition, our space is open to current students, alumni, staff, and faculty, as long as there is that Temple affiliation. Again, this accelerator space, which I'm sitting in currently, is right across the street from Alter Hall. So the Fox School of Business. Within the space, we have mentoring available. You can meet with me for some free consulting and advice on your idea and how to turn that into a business. But aside from that, I mean, it's a really nice space to work. If you just want to come join us for lunch one day, we're always running workshops out of here. If you have schoolwork to do, or maybe even use it as a co-working space, as a gateway away from the office for 1 or 2 days a week. Feel free to scan that QR code and let us know what you're up to, and hopefully we'll see you in here soon.
Great, thank you. And then this is the Blackstone Launchpad. We're located in the Student Center down the lower level by the bookstore. We also here to support you. You can sign up for coaching through us if you go to that link, research.temple.edu/TU Launchpad. We work closely with IEI. We do similar things, so we don't want to be confusing to folks, but take advantage